Number 10, Becky Matthews says, my friend asked me if we didn't choose to exist or come into existence, why do we have to follow what God says or his standards? Why does he have standards anyways? How do I respond? So Becky, this is a really fantastic example of what I will consider, and forgive me guys, this is not, I'm not saying the person's obnoxious. I'm gonna use the word obnoxious. I'm not saying the person who says this is obnoxious, but I think that the argument is obnoxious. The argument, not the person. Okay, the person is just confused. The argument is obnoxious. The argument goes like this. I should have no responsibilities before God because he didn't ask my permission to create me. Now, let's talk about logical possibility for just a second. Let's take the hypothesis that God has to ask your permission to create you. What would be required, this is why it's obnoxious, for God to ask your permission? He would have to create you, give you a mind, the ability to have a will. He would have to do all that in order to say, hey, let's say your name is Jeff. Hey, Jeff, I brought you into existence. Hi, I'm God. I just wanted to ask you if it's okay for me to bring you into existence. This is logically impossible. So the objection, let me restate it with that in mind. It goes like this. Why do I have to listen to God when God didn't do the logically impossible for me? That makes no sense whatsoever. That is a very obnoxious thing. Now, there's a second layer. So in one sense, it's silly because it's logically impossible. And it requires God to make me as a solution to the problem of him making me. He has to make me without my permission as a solution to making me without my permission. That doesn't work. But the second issue is this, is that mankind, I like what Romans says here, is that you're the potter, or he's the potter, you're the clay. What right does the clay have to say to the potter? Why have you made me like this? This is a very important, wisdom point, which is to say that if ever your thinking and your reasoning in your head has you shaking your fist at God, you know something's wrong. Even if you can't figure out where you're wrong or how you're wrong, you just know this. God, the grounding of all moral truth and goodness. God, the all-wise and all-knowing. God, the all-powerful, and God, the Holy One. Here's me. I've got a lot of issues. I don't really know that much compared to him. I have my own situations in life. I've got my own sin issues and all this kind of stuff. And I'm convinced that this holy and all-knowing and wise and perfect God owes me an explanation. And further, that I'm upset and I have no responsibility to obey him, listen to him, do what he says. He needs to answer to me. I do not need to answer to him. This is an incredibly dangerous and arrogant place to be. If ever you find yourself shaking your fist at God, you have made some very dangerous wrong turns into the land of folly. It's just really, really scary. So, Becky, I would say you're asking the logically impossible. You're also asking that he does what you don't want him to do to keep him from doing what you don't want him to do, which is ironic and strange. And finally, you're shaking your fist at God, which can't have any wisdom in it at all. And there's something in my eye.